Wax Museum, and I'm about to start reading a book about Daniel Morgan.
And then you're going to get to be Daniel Morgan, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we're getting ready for the Living Wax Museum, Revolutionary War from Grassy Pond, 4th grade. Are you excited?
Mm-hmm. I think it's going to be really fun.
And all of this goes in conjunction with the efforts for something in Gaffney. And what is that you're all excited about and ready to give money for?
RWDC.
And the RWDC stands for?
Revolutionary War Discovery Center.
Absolutely. Sweet. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So we are in Miss McCall's classroom. Miss McCall's doing virtual learning. We're about to meet with Sarah, who is portraying Molly Pitcher in the Revolutionary War Wax Museum. We're going to see what Sarah's working on.
All right, there it comes, Sarah. Okay, can you tell me who you are? Who are you going to portray?
I'm going to be Mary Lockwood Hayes, or her nickname is Molly Pitcher.
Why? Why did they call her Molly Pitcher?
Because she carried a pitcher of water and gave it to the soldiers on the battlefield of the Revolutionary War.
Perfect, and they gave her that nickname. All right, can you read me what you have for your monologue so far?
As I was pouring water into one of the soldiers' mouth, I heard a whisper which happened to be my husband. He had collapsed from heat. General Washington was going to take away the cannon because no one volunteered to put anyone at the cannon. And I decided to take the cannon for him. I was doing everything good and everything was going nicely. The battle ended and that time I only went to go tend to my husband. They even called me Molly Pitcher, since I gave water to those poor collapsed men. My name is Mary Lockwood Hayes.
Okay, I love it. That is really great, but I want you to do something for me. I'm going to take the screen back, and I'm going to show you. You remember when we go to Epic?
Yes, ma'am.
I found a book. So I'm going to share my screen now to show you that. I want you, if you could add a little bit more historical facts in there for me.
Yes, ma'am.
Can you see my screen now?
Yes, I can.
Okay, you can turn your camera on so I can see your pretty face. I'm going to put this book in your library, and I want you to read this one page on her, and it will give you,
Okay.
You can maybe add some dates. I think they may tell you a certain battle where she was, so you might want to add a little bit more historical facts to your monologue. All right? Okay, great. Would you like to show me your prop? What do you have?
Yes, ma'am. This is my prop, and this is the thing you put inside the cannon, and it cleans out the cannon so you can put in the thing to launch it.
Awesome. As a matter of fact, this book that I'm going to share with you, put in your library, you're going to see her holding that. There's a picture of her on here holding it. So you're going to see that actual prop that you made. Okay? All righty. Thank you. And I will see you back in class at 1:15, okay?
Thank you.
Thanks, Sarah.
Okay, Cooper, we are here to talk about Revolutionary War, and I was walking down the hall with you, and someone called you by another name. And what was that and why?
It's my friend's great-grandpa, 6th great-grandpa, and his name's Jacob Childers.
So, Jacob Childers, and you, I think we talked last time that I was here that you wanted to portray him because he is the ancestor of one of your real good friends. What have you learned about Jacob Childers, and what are your plans? And I'm far enough away, if you want to pull your mask down so we can hear you a little better, you're welcome to do that. There you go.
Yeah, he is a Continental soldier, and he worked for George Washington, and he was at Utah Springs one day, and he got shot in the war, and he had to walk home for 20 miles to his family, and he could only stay for 4 or 5 days, and he had to see if the British troops had took over his house.
Oh, wow. Wow. So you'll be portraying, and he was injured at the Battle of Utah Springs, and that was a 20-mile trek. Wow. So are you going to walk 20 miles that morning as we lead into the live Revolutionary War Wax Museum, so you'll be all tired and everything? Catch a ride with your mom, right? So what's the most exciting thing about this process for you so far?
It's fun because we always get to learn about history, and I love history.
Awesome. And so you will be telling the story of Jacob Childers, the ancestor of one of your real good friends and someone that was right here in Cherokee County, present day Cherokee County, South Carolina. So what are your props? Props or your period clothing, either one that you want to talk to me about.
Yeah, so me and my dad one day got some cardboard and rolled it up, and we taped it together and made an axe out of it.
Awesome. Awesome. And don't tell me anything too much about your period clothing. I've already heard about it, but I'll get that next week when we do the live wax museum. All right, thank you. Okay, can you tell me about your picture?
I think she's gonna go warn the Melissa in this, and she had to tie her baby to a bed to go warn them that the British are coming.
Oh, awesome. Very interesting. And Kate Berry is a local Revolutionary War figure. Did you know that? Spartanburg County, present day Spartanburg County. Okay, can you tell me who you are in 2021?
My name's Delaney Wilson, and
You're a
I
fourth
go
grade student at...
Grassy Pond Elementary.
Okay, and what are the fourth graders at Grassy Pond Elementary studying right now?
The Wax Museum.
And that wax museum is about
Revolutionary War.
Revolutionary War. And who is the character that you will be portraying during this wax museum?
Martha Washington.
Martha Washington. Okay, can you tell me a little bit about Martha Washington?
She went to the war with her husband George and helped the guys that got shot and wounded, bandaging them up, cooked for them, washed their clothes.
You are portraying a woman that played a very important role in the Revolutionary War. Now, did Mr. Godfrey assign your characters, or did you get to choose?
He assigned her.
He assigned your characters. And the process of you learning about Martha Washington, what are some of the things you've done getting ready for this?
I've looked up if she's a patriot, and we have this little sheet that we have to look up on Google, and we look up our characters and we write this stuff about them.
Okay, so it's a writing project. It is a research project, and you have to be sure you're finding fact and not fiction, right? So you found some good things about Martha Washington.
Yeah.
And are you working on your period clothing? How you'll be dressed next Friday? Awesome, awesome. So I guess we will see Martha next Friday at the Wax Museum. Yay!
Hi, I'm Crispus Addicts, and I go to Grassy Pond Elementary, and I'm in Miss Kimball's class, and it was the first Black Patriot, and I was the first person killed in the American Revolution, and that also made the cause of the Boston Massacre.
That's a really cool story. That's one of my favorite Revolutionary War stories. So you chose Crispus Attucks as your character to study and portray. Any special reason you chose Crispus Attucks?
From what I heard about him before I actually started researching him, he seemed really cool because he had one or two quotes, but they were really good quotes. And he also has some interesting things that stuck out to me for some odd reason.
That's awesome. Awesome. He's one of my favorite characters of that time. Very important role, and the first person killed in the American Revolution. So, hi, I am Leanne Moon at the Gaffney Visitor Center, and COVID-19 has certainly made our Rev War Wax Museum event different this year. And I am right now sitting with the teachers, and you've not really seen a whole lot of them in the behind the scenes videos, but they're the ones that make it all happen. This project started with them 4 or 5 years ago. We're sitting here trying to count, 8th graders to way back when. but I wanted to give you an opportunity to actually meet the masterminds behind this. We'll start with you, Miss Whiteside. Yes, masterminds.
And Whiteside.
I'm Kim McCall, and I was the 4th grade virtual teacher this year.
I am Ryan Godfrey, 4th grade.
And I'm Susan Kimbrell.
We had the 2020 Wax Museum right before COVID hit last year. And this year, I think you contacted me and said, what are we going to do? How are we going to do this? How did this come about? How did recording it come about?
You just said this might be a good year to go behind the scenes and see what we actually do.
I thought they told me to do it. Okay,
Well,
whoa.
I think together, we thought about it and said it would be a good year just to go behind the scenes and see what they do, how we get everything ready.
It worked out well, and I'll tell you, just the brainstorming of talking back and forth of how we do this and getting behind the scenes. The first day that I came in, you guys blew me away. I mean, great gators. So, y'all.
That would have been when King George came to visit.
Yes.
Okay, I was thinking that was the
yes.
first time.
King George was in the building.
Yes, and Parliament and tax collectors.
It is a time that we teach that it's just hard to get into their heads what actually happened. But
I don't know, you get it pretty good when you take M&Ms from 4th graders.
Yes. So going about it in this manner, actually, when you start taking M&Ms for a tennis shoe they have, or because they have to wear glasses, or you can really make them think about what really actually had to happen.
This week at Grassy Pond Elementary School, for 4th graders, is probably about as big as the week of Christmas, leading up to Christmas activities. I know that I've already been told by someone that their 2nd grader is already talking about being in the Rev War Wax Museum. But over the years, what do you guys get from this? I mean, we've seen the children, we've witnessed what even the 5th graders that were King George and Parliament this year, the Royal Court, and how it still impacts them. But from you guys, I mean, this is just amazing.
Well, the beginning part is the research part and the work part, and they're not really into that.
Right.
But then, that's why we start with showing them the end product and begin with the end in mind. So they see that they have to do the work to get to the fun part. And once they can transition themselves into the minds of that character, then they just pretty much go with it. We don't have a lot. There's no stopping them at that point.
And the neat thing is when you see those students who you think are not into what Ms. McCall was talking about, they're not into maybe the research as much, but when they get to see that person come to life and they see old videos of what happened last year or the way the students did last year, I mean, those students that you think will not perform as well as you would want them to, sometimes are the ones that actually go above and beyond.
Knock it out of the park.
Yeah, knock it out of the park, and it's really great to see. And I think that's one thing that I've been rewarded with, is being able to see those students that you think, well, they're not going to do as good as you want them to do. You just think their heart's not in it, but then when they get up there in front of everybody, it's like they click a switch, and they go from being a little shy to they know their part, and they come alive as that character or as that Revolutionary War figure, and it's really great to see that.
I think Ms. McCall mentioned one thing too about them being able to understand what was going on during that time. But we're talking hundreds of years ago. They don't have a mental concept of 50 years ago.
Right.
And when you start talking hundreds of years ago, it's really a hard thing for them to understand. And by taking the role in first person of that character and what life was like then and how things were different, it really kind of gives them a little bit better perspective.
My heart feel good because this has turned into a 4th grade thing. And after that first year, the next year, the kids were like, are we going to get to do the Wax Museum this year? And so it turned into, the 4th grade, that's what we do. And this year, the very first day with hybrid, I had students saying, are we going to be able to do it this year? I'm like, we will do it some way. And even parents, we're not going to be able to do it this year. So.
There's a couple of really exciting things for me, but one thing is the school district. the parents, the grandparents, just the community really embracing and holding on to what you guys are doing, and that's phenomenal. The fact that we last year had our first descendant of a Rev War veteran portray his 8th great grandfather, and then this year his friend wanting to be that character or that figure, and then there are those that are coming in wanting to be someone particular,
Right.
And feeling a certain connection. So this is the Who Are We? We'll talk to Ms. McCall just a second about the next video coming up, but these are the masterminds. That's who they are. Ms. McCall, we've seen a few clips of the students that were doing virtual learning, and that was a real challenge this year. Of course, everything with COVID-19 has been a challenge, and especially when it came to education. Talk a little bit about your idea. I know the upcoming video is really going to feature the time warp, but that tied another lesson into the Revolutionary War period.
Well, when we first started talking about doing our wax museum again this year, I was really sad because I thought that our virtual kids were going to have to be left out of it. Because I just couldn't quite wrap my mind around that. But then the more that I thought, why not? Why not make this a virtual experience for them? So we did that. It was a little different than normal being in the classroom, but the research piece was a little more difficult for them and to pick up on. So I had to really go back and find video and from the past years and let them actually see what we were talking about doing.
I enjoyed seeing and I think it shows more in the research videos, the primary and secondary research and everything, the sources that they were going to. So really, it was a bad year with COVID, but it turned out great even for those that were learning from home.
Yes, it did. That was one area that my students were weak in, based on our STARS reports, looking at first person and that kind of thing. So this fell right in place at that moment that was needed in my classroom, and they just nailed it.
Awesome. Awesome. All right, so next up, what we've got is the time warp to 1781 with our virtual students.